VirtualBox, there's a bit of terminology, right? So VirtualBox refers to the host basically being the operating system that VirtualBox itself is running on. So in my case here on my laptop, it's Windows 10. And then they talk about the guest, basically the particular operating system that is being hosted inside VirtualBox. So in our case, our Kali images are being hosted, are the guests inside VirtualBox. So guest editions basically kind of makes the guest play a little bit nicer with VirtualBox and so forth. Kind of makes file sharing, folder sharing a little bit easier. Some other things, allows you to do things like maximize the window and have it automatically sized up and so forth. The issue is that for guest editions to work properly, you have to have the Linux headers installed, and by default, they're not installed in Kali Linux. Okay, so that's actually this first command here, this apt-get install Linux headers dash, and then this part here. Anybody know what that is? Out of curiosity, it's a little bit of Linux or Bash scripting. Right, so basically what happens, so if I pull open let's see, I'll go over here. So you'll see, in fact, what there actually is in here, this uname tac-r command. And so that's actually a separate command. So uname basically kind of gives you a bunch of information, will give you information about a system that you're on. Notice uname tac-r basically gives me this sort of particular version information for my system. Okay, so ultimately what happens is that this part, what we end up having is Linux headers dash, and then everything that's here gets replaced with basically whatever is executed by and returned by uname -r. Okay, so apt get install, and as I said, it is where it is. There's Linux headers dash $, uname tac-r. That's it. Oh yes, and the -y, which basically says if there are any prompts from this, just automatically select yes. Okay, so doing that, and yeah, right on this particular one, I already have that. Those installed. Let's see, is my other one? Other little. Can I turn the lights?
Yeah.
Thanks. Yep, there we go.
I couldn't see what you were saying.
Yes. Okay. Right. So again, basically, apt-get. Right. We have the dash, and then inside there we have the $, and in parens. So that's Bash speak for basically execute that command and insert it into here. I think I can probably actually demonstrate this this way. So if I do echo. So the echo command in Bash basically says output the following thing. So notice instead of seeing $, paren, all of that, this is actually what that expanded to. Okay. So that tells it the particular version of Linux headers that we want and so forth. Some other stuff about apt. So if you're curious if there's a package that you want to find out whether it exists, you can use the apt cache command with the search option. So for instance, I could search for something like Linux headers, right? And notice, so here's all the matches kind of that we got for Linux headers in here, and we can kind of see, oh, okay, yeah, so there are these various ones like Linux headers 4, 6, blah, 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 right? And yeah, notice there's the one actually that happens to match the particular version of what we were looking for. right? So that's kind of what's going on when you're asking for the install of that, right? That is, again, okay, oops, sorry, not that one. Okay. This basically is just ensuring that it's going to get the proper headers. Now, when you do run that, let's see, is my other one? No, my other one's still doing stuff. Okay, so if you do run that on yours, it generally doesn't take very long. There's not a lot of stuff to actually download, thankfully. Okay, so once you have those headers installed, then it's time to install the guest editions. Okay, so the way of doing that is you can come up to device here. And then you can scroll down to the bottom option that says insert the guest editions CD image. Okay, so again, it's like putting in a virtual CD into your drive. Now this part, I mean, you can just kind of click whatever because it's not going to auto run anyways. What you then need to do is basically run the command. So again, there's the screenshot for that. But basically, you're going to come down here to change to the correct directory. That is where the CD-ROM is. So I'll do cd/media/CD-ROM. Okay. How do we get a directory listing in Linux? ls, right? Think listing, right? So ls. Notice, tells me, gives me all the files that are there. Okay, so the one that we actually want to run is this one here, this vbox linux editions.run. Okay, so the way that you do that is you use sh and then dot, and then you need to vbox linux editions.run. Okay, and so that will kind of run through and basically install the guest additions into Kali for us. Okay. So once that's done, generally it's a good idea to actually restart Kali. Okay, so I'm going to actually do that. I'm just going to click exit. What I'm going to do is I'll just come over to here, do a full-on restart. Okay, so a couple of things. Now, once we get to this, so we do have with having guest editions installed, that means that I can do things like this. I can actually resize the window and basically my my inner side. Maybe, there it goes, yes. Resizes accordingly. We can do things like just throw it into full screen mode. Basically gives you a little thing of how to get out of full screen mode in case you're kind of stuck there or not aware of that, etc. Basically, what happens is there's sort of a command, there's a key to access the VirtualBox shortcuts. On Windows, it's actually the right-hand control. So for instance, I can hit Control F is the command for going in and out of full screen, right? So again, right side Control and F, right? Again, it's going to tell me, right? So that's where it's saying here, host plus F, right? And again, it's showing me that yes, in my case, the host key is the right control, and you can switch that. So forth. Okay, so it gives you that stuff. It gives you some additional niceties and so forth. You do have the ability to, where is it? Yeah, notice you can share your clipboard, so you can set it up so that you can only, for instance, copy things from Windows to Linux or vice versa, or just set it up bidirectionally. The last sort of little setup thing I'm going to do is setting up a share, okay, and I'll show you how to do that. The other thing you'll notice is that we do still have this VBox Editions, basically because we did the insert. I'm going to leave it there just for right now, because typically when you're setting up your share, at least for the initial setup, I've seen some issues in the past where if the guest edition CD isn't actually in, it sort of doesn't set it up initially. But then we'll look at getting rid of that. Okay, so let me go ahead and shut this down. All right, so over here, I'm going to go to that image, and I'm going to go to settings. Okay, and down near the bottom here, you'll see I have shared folders. Now, initially, you won't have anything there. You'll have something that kind of looks like this. Okay, so shared folders, basically the idea is you can set up as many folders as you want that can be shared between your host and your guest. Okay, so in my case, on Windows, I can have a folder someplace on Windows that also Kali can access. So that's a really handy way in case you need to be transferring files between your host and guest and so forth. So it's generally a good thing to set up. Okay, so here under shared folders, all we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and say add that, and then I'm just going to come over to here to other to basically select create the folder that I want to share. Okay, now I already have a folder here on the desktop called Kali Share. That's the one that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to go to desktop. I'm going to select Kali Share. If you didn't, you could create a new folder. It can be named whatever you want. So I do that. Then I'm also going to select the auto mount option. So that way, when I fire up Kali, it's going to automatically be there on Kali's desktop for me to access the folders from. Okay. So I'll click OK, and now theoretically it should be good. Okay, so let me go ahead and click OK for that. Now let me start up my my Kali. Okay. All right. Yes. Okay, so there's my shared folder. I can open this up. If I dumped files in it from Windows, I'll have access then from here, and vice versa. So if I dump files in from Kali into this folder, I'll be able to access those from Windows. Okay, so that's good. Now let's clean up this this whole VirtualBox Editions thing. Okay, so generally, I'm going to actually do kind of two things. First, again, I'm going to actually shut down Kali. Part of the thing is you can't actually change the options for the machine while the guest is running. Okay, so I'll go ahead and power this off. Okay, then I'm going to go. Oops, no, I don't want new. Sorry. I'm going to go back into settings here, and I'll go to storage, and here it is with Guestbox Editions listed there. So I'm just going to delete that entirely, and then I'm just going to go back in and put in an empty disk. Okay, like so. So now I've basically got pulled the Guestbox Editions out of there. The other thing, since now I kind of have the system at a good baseline, I know it's running, I have my share. Now really what I want to do is create a snapshot. Okay, so if with your machine selected, you can go over to snapshots, and basically you just click the little picture icon, and that will create a snapshot. So you'll see actually I had created a snapshot after I had done the initial install, upgrade, and dist upgrade, but I didn't actually have guest editions and all of that. So I'll go ahead and even create another one, right? So I can call this just initial setup. And, you can add in whatever description, et cetera, that you want. And so now you have a setup that you can always go back to if you totally foul up your Kali installation. Okay, so generally nice and handy. All right, let me go ahead back and I'll click Start again to get back into Kali. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop that video.